Voices of the Anambra, our pride, our voice.
Anambra's 2026 budget is here. 756.28 billion naira in total, with a projected deficit of about 225.7 billion naira. And that's about 30% of the entire budget. You know, a number big enough to make anyone pause. And Soludo's administration calls this budget Changing Gears 3.0 solution continues, a push to accelerate a transformative agenda. But critics are asking one urgent, unsettling question. Is Soludo about to borrow Anambra's future away? But that's why we're here today, to analyze and discuss the intricate details of the Anambra's 2026 fiscal year budget. And today we have a co-host, the National Publicity Secretary of APGA, Mazi Ejimofo Opara.
I wanted to ask, must you even mention that?
If we don't mention that, what do you want me to mention?
Okay.
Because,
I accept that. I take my flowers.
This is a seasoned communications specialist. Mazi, Ebukanai with that, you please.
We have a friendly guest.
Okay, yeah. And to discuss the Anambra 2026 fiscal year budget, we have the woman who is behind all the numbers and behind this entire budget, the Commissioner for Budget, Mrs. Chamaka Nake.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Happy to be here.
Awesome.
We're happy to have you
It's
too.
my first time
Exactly.
and I'm enjoying every moment of it.
Well, you're welcome to Voices of the Anambra.
Yeah.
And we have a very responsible and reputable Anambra on the saddle today. And of course, we're discussing everything that has to do with your own area of interest. The Damaka, you didn't add budget and planning.
Budget and planning. Very important.
So you're welcome.
A lot of people just stop at budget because it's easy and that's where the money is.
Yeah.
And the bread and the money has to be planned. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay, ma.
thank you.
Away from the budget deficit, because we're still going to discuss that. But I want you to, throw more light on the 500 billion naira allocated to capital expenditure.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Just, of course, since the presentation of the budget on Tuesday by the governor to the House, I've just been answering questions.
Yeah.
And of course, this is also why we're here. Our capital budget is not something that, if you have followed our budget since 2022, in 2022, we did a revised budget. And 2023, up to this point, we are so careful about how we plan. It's not accidental. We kind of we usually quite careful because we usually say, what would this budget deliver for the Anambra? So it's not a budget of consumption. It's a budget of transformative plan, right? How do we move Anambra State from where we want to be to where we are to where we want to be?
Yeah.
I remember we also not planning in isolation. Before every budget, we go through our Vision 2070, our People's Manifesto. Those are the things, the documents that influence our budget. So if you want to achieve this, so we usually try to then translate those plans into financial outcomes, right? So we kind of put lines in the budget that will help us achieve that particular plan. That's how we plan. We don't just wake up and come up with projects. So the over 500 billion capital expenditure accounts for about 79% of our budget. So we have a list of projects. Some are, of course, for the ones we have started, because it's our budget this year, aptly tagged solution continues. That means it's continuity budget.
Yeah.
So for the things we started, we are completing. Of course, there are new things we want to start. But what it is basically is that the budget will continue from, there are still roads under construction. In fact, I went around the state yesterday and I can see everywhere constructions here and there. And of course, this is the season. So we see that continuing. In the budget, we have over about 250 billion for road construction. We understand that is Anambra State major concern because over the years it's been a neglected segment of the economy, road construction, and the government. We've done close to 900 kilometer,
Yeah.
and we are also scaling that up. And then infrastructure. This period, of course, we have Soludo, well, 4 more years. So we have 4 more years to really
Oh,
show the Anambra, because what we have started is a foundational investment in the states towards the achieving of Vision 2070.
Yeah.
So we have 4 years to solidify the foundation. So infrastructure is a major aspect of this investment. In fact, it accounts over 50% of this budget, of the entire budget. Infrastructure alone is over about 52%. So that shows where we are putting our mouth, putting our money where our mouth is,
yeah.
right? So that, of course, this year we will start the real legacy project, the industrial transformation, which is what this government is about. What we've been doing is, of course, you can't layer development on already decayed infrastructure. So we've been doing a lot of all those groundwork. Next few years will then be or see us transforming Anambra to a truly industrialized state. Our make is coming full gear. We are building 3 new cities. I know in the past years has been all design, get mobilizing investment. So it will be PPP. So while the government, because government really, Anambra State Resources can't do this all alone, but the government will take a significant equity and kickstart this, stimulate this investment, and then wait for private sector who have already shown interest at different aspects of those business areas to come in and partner with it to then bring it to life. But yes, infrastructure remains 50% of the budget. That then shows that about 300 billion of this 500 billion is on infrastructure. That's road. Road alone is 230.
Wow.
Yes. Then building of the industrial city, the Aeropolis, is about 75 billion. So if I just what's the name, the entertainment and leisure, we have 10 billion. So when you look at, we can actually just highlight where these monies are going to. In fact, we have a list of projects to be delivered, right? Of course, we are scaling up our 1U2 skill. We're across all sectors. We are building some government facilities, of course, institutionalizing governance and all that. So infrastructure alone accounts for close to 52% of this amount, and every other thing just around building for the future. So what we see us doing now is legacy. So what are we going to tell on the Anambra? At least we need to kickstart that development, that future that we envisage, just kickstart it while whoever takes over from this government will continue in that light. But since the Vision 2070 is starting with this government, so we will give it some directional view so that the next government will understand and be able to continue in that light.
Okay, now, it's one thing to have a budget and another to be able to drive or generate the revenue to be able to execute the budget. And we've seen that there's a 24.1% increase on the budget from what we had in 2025. So the question now on everybody's lips is, okay, in driving this revenue, particularly on our IGR side, are we looking at bigger taxes, increased taxes on the people? Will Anambra have to pay more for this?
No, thank you for this question. It's usually, how confident we are in the Anambra, proud Anambra person, how we usually will compare Anambra State with Lagos State, and every state and just say, look, we're just behind Lagos. Can I just explain that Lagos generates in a month 100 billion naira in IGR?
Wow.
So when we want to, if we are only benchmarking ourselves with Lagos, then compared to where we are, we just know that we haven't even started the journey towards becoming a Lagos kind of, building a Lagos kind of economy. Okay. But of course, it is not, of course, Lagos has been a journey. So Anambra State will also get into that point. But what we are currently doing now is barely around 4 billion. And of course, this is way below the potential. At least Anambra State should do 10% of Lagos State. Fairly. But there is, while we appreciate the people who have been consistent, we do 4 billion naira now, so meaning that there are people who pay, right? But then we know, even everyone in Anambra know that is below Anambra State expectation. What we're going to do is something different. How do we collect more efficiently? And how do we get a lot of people into the tax bracket? Those are the two things we are looking at. Yes, there are people that pay, and I can say that of more than 50% of Indian Anambra still don't pay tax. They don't even know. So it's a journey towards even sensitization, education, understanding that payment of your tax is your civic responsibility towards development of the state. It's not a Nigeria thing, it's not even an Anambra thing, it's a national. In fact, if you leave Nigeria and go abroad, you don't even have an option. In fact, they collect it as source. It's only in Nigeria that somehow, because of the inefficiencies in the system, so we have to reach you to be the one to pay the tax. But no, other places they collect it as source, so you don't even have an option of either to pay or not. But I know that if you listen carefully in the governor's to the governor's speech, he mentioned that there's a new sheriff in town. We are partnering to see how we can improve efficiency of collection and also expand the tax bracket. So in Anambra, once you see yourself, we will be coming, because that's the only way we get things done. The money, the fact can barely even do. We have a 700 and something billion budget. We have a budget deficit of 200 and something. So that shows that the 500 is only the revenue, and the revenue, I can tell you, is ambitious. Well, based on where we are now, we are still currently what we have as budget this year for revenue is 72. We are not even up to 100 billion that Lagos State collects in a month. So we're just even saying we keep stretching the bar every year. This year we have 60. We are not as at Q3 as that's end up. We have 42. Of course, it already shows that for us to get the 60% mark by December is a tall order. Except there's a swing that happens, right? So that means we didn't even, but we pushed it further, because the point is that we keep stretching the mark because we have a target to achieve. We would, some things will change significantly in 2026, sorry. It won't be usual, business as usual, because the collection would need to change. It's not, we would try to see how to do 100% digitization. So even people can actually sit down in your office. If you work in Lagos, you can actually pay your tax by yourself. You can track if you're even working with a company, you can track if the company has paid your tax. So, because those are the things you also use if you want to assess some social benefits. You say, I'm a taxpayer. In fact, I know that there are some applications, maybe building all this social housing that you need to apply for, and they ask for your evidence of tax payment. So those assets, if you have your tax history, you submit and say, my company pays my tax. So where we are in Anambra is that the companies don't even pay tax. So even when they deduct from people, they don't remit. That's actually theft. You've stolen from your employee, because if you've deducted it, you're supposed to remit it. So you can't keep it. It's not your money. So you actually, imagine today we start depriving the Anambra of some of the social amenities because of the tax. And there's no evidence that their tax have been paid when they're being deducted. So the company, I think everybody, I think it's education, because I see that most people don't even know. Because I think what they don't even know that they need to do this, but we continue. I know that ARS is on top of it. And then another part is, what is exciting about those governments is that I think really what Anambra is asking now is, where are we getting the money? Meaning that people can see clearly what the money is being used for. So it's not a case of I'm paying. No, if you want the road, of course, the whole of Anambra is a construction site. I know where people is asking, are you printing money? That shows people are confident that their money is working for them. So that's what we are assuring, that as we have more, trust the government to do more. We have a whole lot happening in Anambra State. So we need more resources to be able to drive more development.
But people are asking, is this the whole tax thing? Is it going to put pressure? Is the government going to put pressure on petty traders, hawkers, and the common man? Because as you just said, in 2026 it's going to get tougher.
Petty traders are not in fact, anybody pursuing to petty traders, of course that won't be a business in Anambra State here, because Anambra businessmen, if you're able to collect even 5% of the real businessmen in main market, do you understand? The real business who are importing things, they go to, I can imagine going to Lagos ports at this time, or a lot of containers are landing for the festivity sales. Who is collecting? And where we are, what we even say collecting now is shop rents, maybe the fees and people personal income tax. You earn money from the state. What are you paying as your tax? I think the problem with Anambra State is it's not a problem. It could also be an advantage if we think about it, because more people are into business. But the point is that because of the informal nature of the business, so even identification, so it's something we need to step back, which we are starting to do. Step back and identify these people. I come 2026, I think the new tax law also provides some of such opportunity to identify these people. So we can all look everybody in the face and say, we know you earned this. That's what the new tax law, because everybody, a taxman can now have access to your financial statement and say, you earned this amount, what have you done for the state? It's not enough to just sit down and complain. The government needs money. The only two sources of revenue to government is through tax and VAT. And VAT is even still partly tax, because VAT, of course, paid on goods and services are components of, most of it. So we're saying Anambra as a state, we need to understand that we have the potential to do way more. Perhaps what the government is committing to is that we're going to improve the efficiency of collection, the ease of it, and education, because some people, I believe that if they understand how this thing come around, they would appreciate it and be able to pay their quota. When everybody just drops the little, we have a lot of money and we're able to do much more. That's the only way Anambra State can
No, I know, and it's common knowledge that petty traders, some levels of artisans, barrel pushers, and co are exempted from the tax.
Yes,
net. By that's been, very much said about this government. But again, we're looking at the deficit, and it's also on record that in the last 3 budget cycles we've had deficits, and in spite of the fact that the governor has gotten approvals from the House to borrow, he is yet to borrow. So now, this deficit is now bigger. I don't know if I will say would that jinx be broken? Because if I call it the jinx now, I'm sure many financial institutions will be laughing and say, yes, the jinx. Let's know if this guy, if we'll crack this guy this year. So, are we looking at loans?
Okay, as a finance person, I've never ever thought that borrowing is wrong.
Okay.
Because that's what drives at some point. You need to look for external finances to be able to ramp up what you have to do. External support. The only concern is what are you using the loan for, and do you have the capacity to pay back when it falls due, the obligations fall due. So this government has been clear from day one. It doesn't have a party to borrow. There's nothing wrong with borrowing. I think this needs to come down. I'm not just saying it for government budget, because I'm also seeing that on a daily basis. Once you tell people borrowing, loan, people just want to withdraw. No, there's nothing wrong with big companies. I can count 1 or 2 companies, or just very few companies, who have succeeded without borrowing. Borrowing is an essential part of business, especially when you want to scale. And that's where we are. If you recall what I said, we're going big on infrastructure. So I won't even mind if this year becomes where we break that, if that is any jinx, but we decide to break it. But the question is, what are we borrowing for? We will not borrow for consumption. We will borrow for projects that have been designed, and there's a pathway for payment. If I borrow to build AMIC, Anambra State Mixed-Use Industrial City, AMIC should be able to pay itself. In fact, it should be able to run on its own. It's a commercial venture, 100%. So those kind of business, if you borrow, at least, in fact, even more, like right now we have two institutions who are ready to fund that make, because they understand it's a commercial venture. That's what it's supposed to. So what are you borrowing for? There's no apart, there's no, we don't have any problem with borrowing as a government, but we want to borrow for a bankable project, and that we have also designed it properly, that we kind of can see that it's not a burden to anybody, that the business itself we have borrowed for has been designed and organized to be able to pay back the loan and in a sustainable way. I think that is fair. So
Okay.
the Anambra over time would get the full benefit of it without, at least we took the leap of investing. It's an investment and it's able to pay itself.
Okay, sorry, I'm gonna just take you back just a little bit on our previous discussion, because you talked about digitizing everything next year. Just want you to just throw a little bit more light on that, because some of the problems we're having, I think, is also some of these agents who try to take
Collect
the money
tax
from the bank.
manually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
I know that's the major.
how the government is going to tackle this issue so it doesn't repeat itself next year.
Yeah, governor, if you've listened to him carefully, sometimes he just says, if anybody comes to ask you for money cash,
He's a thief.
please, he's a thief, don't pay him. I better lose the money than having to get, because let me be fair, maybe what comes to Anambra state government is way below what is being collected. So perhaps that's also something that we are aware of. So perhaps more people are even paying, just that it's not getting to the top of government coffers.
Yeah.
But what we are doing is food revenue. It is that anything we cannot automate.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't know. It's only maybe not only in Anambra. It's only in Nigeria really that people just stop you on the road and ask you to give them
The
money.
money.
And of course, it's a Nigerian thing. But of course, we are trying to automate. Of course, it's not going to be 100% initially, but we'll try. Just to see that, also sensitization of this people. We don't need to be on. Maybe even starting with say, nobody's on the road on government's behalf.
Okay.
Do you understand? We will find another tool to actually a control mechanism where we get those people. Perhaps it's when you want to assess something. So we would, of course, we don't have that culture. So if you don't have any way of checking, people will usually not
Exactly,
Yeah.
because how do you protect the people's interests when the government is not there to protect them?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we are looking at now is just part of the strategy. I think we would also be looking at is how do we create other toll gates
Okay.
which are not road what they call it road racing, pursuing people and all that.
Yeah.
Just so you come for this particular thing, we have it that part of the things you're supposed to be submitted is your tax history. So
Yeah.
and then automatically that then kind of compels you to know that this is an obligation. If you don't pay today, don't worry, you pay everything in one day.
Yeah.
So it's better you spread out your pay. Perhaps you pay 1,000 naira today, you pay 1,000 naira instead of meeting you daily some months down the line that you have to pay 50,000 that you might not have.
Yeah.
So that's actually what so there's a thinking through that needs to happen. It's not I think Anambra State's own is quite obvious because we are majorly an informal community, right?
Okay.
State.
Yeah.
So in Lagos, I know they're also still struggling with the informal sector. But I know that of course because they have sufficient formal sector, so it's augmented. But I know it's something everybody's thinking to. Perhaps if Anambra State breaks that particular provides that guide, perhaps other states could also come and learn. But we need to, as a state, think about it. But we need people to also work with us. We understand that some harassments happen on the road. Some people come with, of course, it's harassment. We'll see how to, maybe example in 1, 2, 3, 4 persons.
Yeah.
Everything just has to calm down.
But so, Madam
People will
Commissioner,
continue to
let
try.
me also, throw in this question. Aside the fact that the government is heavy on capital projects and capital expenditure and all that, we also know it has also been reputed for human capital development. And looking at the current part of the budget, it's just like a tangential increase on what it was last year. So, what is this budget going to do in terms of human capital development, job creation, and all that?
Yeah, so I said 50%. That means there's a remaining 50% somewhere else, right?
Yeah. Sure.
So over 20% of our budget is human capital.
Okay.
Right? And when you're looking at human capital, you're saying health, education, empower youth empowerment
Yeah.
and many others.
Yeah.
So yes, we're also, I think education budget increased by 40 something percent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and um, health budget increased about 10%.
Okay.
So this is quite deliberate. So we're deepening what we're doing in education. Of course, currently we currently have our
Free
free
education.
education. We're scaling that up, right? In fact, where we are, the division is free and qualitative education.
Yeah.
So we have achieved free. So we're asking, I think where they work, I don't think it will ever end, is how to continuously improve the quality of
Of education.
education, right? So which is where a lot of investment. So we started with physical infrastructure, availability of even the schools. So part of the free is also the current approval of building 30 new schools in communities that really don't have any.
Yeah.
So that's to ensure that every community has the
Has.
opportunity of free education.
Exactly.
So right. So after that is then the part of quality. So we have, of course, the smart school is fully rolled out, the first phase. So we're also looking at the look and feel of most of the schools. You go to some schools, you ask. I will personally believe the environment kind of impacts
Influences you.
learning. Yeah.
True.
So we are doing a whole lot towards improving the ambience of each of the schools, the quality of teachers we are training, building the capacity of these teachers. I also know that, of course, we have recruited over 8,115 teachers, but we know that most of those teachers are also retiring on the daily basis. So we continue to compute the teacher-student ratio, and of course, I know that there could be need for additional recruitment during
yeah.
the year. So that's to also ensure that we have teachers, qualified teachers in all the schools. We are building new institutions because, of course, for the secondary schools, institutions, I know Wafori want to scale up Wafori to say if it could become University of Education and another institution, right? So we have a whole lot of agenda in education, health of free antenatal and before I leave education, I also know that the mission school we are currently supporting, and there are also plans to see how to deepen the conversation, just to ensure that we extend our access to education across every part of Anambra State. Yeah, to the extent we can absorb as government, right?
Yeah.
Of course, there is budget constraints.
Yeah.
Health, we also quite big on health. Still build free delivery and antenatal still ongoing. We currently, in fact, our healthcare journey is like a loop. When you look at the journey, we have equipped the primary healthcare centers. We have, of course, so they're functional. We did our telemedicine to connect primary health centers to a tertiary institution. We are renovating tertiary institutions, that general hospitals. Sorry, the secondary health, which is a general hospitals, where we've completed 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And then for the existing ones, we are renovating and equipping them. That's the secondary. Then tertiary now. What we're also doing, we're building a cancer center. We built a trauma center. We're building a cancer center, the oncology center, which is coming up. And also then, because you understand the problem of healthcare professional in the States, we're then trying to contribute in building the pipeline. So the nursing school is supposed to then supply the manpower required across. So it's something we are thinking through, because really you can't continue to drag. Everybody is scrambling for the limited number of health workers. So we just had to find a way to continue to build the
produce
manpower
more.
to be able to run the system. So that's the loop in our healthcare. So we're just thinking about it for consistency. So 1U2 skill we are scaling. Of course, we've done 8,300 recently. We did 5,000 before. So where we are now is, of course, we heard or we know that much more people applied last year, but they couldn't go in. So this could be an opportunity to get
For
more
them to
people
come in,
into.
yeah.
Yeah.
So are you saying we're doing more?
Yeah, more
with
numbers.
1U2 skills?
Yes.
Okay.
We're increasing the number for
Okay.
1U2 skills, and we also for SID we're scaling as well. and also building of the innovation
District,
districts,
yeah.
and of course the current one coming up, and then we're also asking how do we kind of expand the district in partnership with private
Private
sector, because
sectors,
the
yeah.
government has kickstarted it and currently seeing it alive.
Interesting plans, very wonderful and amazing. But, what happens when the expected revenue doesn't, come in, or there's an economic crisis? How exactly is the government planning to tackle it heads on to make sure that it still delivers the plans that you've just laid out? What is there any plan B, or are there some things the government is going to drop and say, okay, you know what, we're not going to continue with this particular project?
So as we plan, if you notice, our budget is not very ambitious. So we have actually looked at it realistically to see things that we would love to deliver this year. Of course, revenue is a problem, but like I said, we would plan to even exceed. But of course, even meeting is where we plan what the plan has in stock, which is even the 72 billion that we have there. But what we're saying is, of course, we have a room to go externally, which is borrowing. So
Oh,
the
okay.
revenue, of course, we would try as much as possible to implement most of this, but we also have a room to seek external funding if the revenue is our internal revenue is unable to fund the budget.
Yeah.
But of course, like the government will say, I would go out if it's extremely required. So yes, we have that opportunity to go external if we must start off something. Like I said, infrastructure project takes time for gestation, right, for it to come to full life. So I would think that if you want something to be up fully operational within the next 3-4 years, I think you might need to start today. And maybe 2026 will be us really starting a lot of infrastructure projects and pounding it to see them completed within before this government ends. So I think it will be in good. This is personal opinion now.
Yeah.
It will be in good thoughts to really kickstart a lot of heavy infrastructure projects in 2026, just to ensure that before the end of the tenure, most of these things are running. At least you can actually use your vision, right? So you want to see it start, and you can actually kind of give you some direction before someone takes
Yeah.
over.
Okay, so still talking about kickstarting. Of course, we know that this is, like the budget title itself says, changing years 3.0, solution continues.
Continues,
Now
yeah.
we understand that there are some ongoing projects, that more or less roll into the succeeding budget, and we want to know what are the plans, particularly from a planning perspective, to check these issues of, I don't want to say ghost projects, because I know that we've prudently managed our resources, but timelines are quite critical. So what plans are in place, within the government or your ministry, to ensure that timelines are observed, such that we wouldn't be having projects that run into every other budget, per time.
Okay, that's a very interesting question. But if you also look at our government, we government is quite forceful when it comes to timelines. So what other governments would have taken a longer time to do, we government pushes us to do this within a very short time, and we will, of course. So we're already doing fairly okay, but of course maybe we're marking ourselves against ourselves.
Okay.
If that is then the case, of course, maybe better planning and even coordination will help. And I understand it that we have maybe committed to 2 months at best, and then we're running to 6 months. So it's our expectations against that one.
Okay.
If we start comparing to other states, other areas, so maybe we might then feel we're better. But against our own timeline is better coordination and not being very realistic and
Yeah.
better coordinated, especially with the contract expectation, building expectations rightly. It's not just promising because you won the contract, or you know that that is what if you say 3 months, it will be quite exciting more than saying that it will take you 6 months.
Yeah.
So it's internalizing our situation and asking, have we been pushing people to make promises that ordinarily from day one they know it's not possible. Yeah, but because you want it moved, you just want to be the one to say so you just say, yeah, we can do it in 3 months. You know, when you know that 6 months you still so it's actually all internalizing our processes and building realistic expectations of projects. But you can't do that if we don't fully thinking something through. So when you think your project through from start to beginning, then you can sit back and say, realistically, this will take longer than 3 months. Let's make it 6 months. And also, we understand, Governor will say it's an agenda with a deadline. So we also know that timing. In fact, if he can get it in 1 month instead of 6 months, he will embrace it. But of course, it's an internal. Perhaps there's a part to it. So you work, once you meet the 3 months deadline, you know that you actually now you've missed it. So you then have a you know that you've exceeded the deadline, so you are running behind schedule. But imagine you have given yourself 6 months. You say, I'm still well within the deadline. But I think there would be a balance, really. But understanding and planning, coordinating properly, and also building some realistic expectations. But that will happen if we think projects from start to finish, thinking it through. What would it take? Not changing things in between because I forgot this part. No, so maybe that part of the project we need to.
Let's even talk about marking ourselves, just like you said, we're marking ourselves and not comparing ourselves with other states, right? So let's review the 2025 year budget. Did we perform excellently or did we perform poorly? How would you rate our performance for this year?
Okay, this year, the year has not ended, but we need to mark ourselves.
Exactly.
So the year has not ended. So the record we have is as of October, as in, of course, informally, but formally we have as a Q3, which is we publish our quarterly performance as a Q3. But for the basis of budget, we were just able to stretch to say, okay, what have we done up to October? Right, of course, we usually publish quarterly performance reports, so most people might not have seen where we are and now, but based on the data we have on how far we have fared as of October, we're currently at 61% budget performance pro rata, right? Okay. And of course, personally, and this is my personal thinking, if there's anything, I'll give Anambra State an A at 61.
At 61?
Why I say that is this is an election year. For us to have continued to implement during an election, we would like to see how the other states will fare in an election, because half of the year is election. But I think Governor had carefully just said we are doing 100% implementation and 100% election politics. So I know in between election, maybe while people are still struggling with their community engagement and you just receive an ESCO meeting just in the midst of that. So we have continued to deliver value to the Anambra even amidst the very tight and very complex times. But and also what I also say, beside that is that our budget, if you follow that budget, we are quite heavy on infrastructure. And if you also know the timing and seasons, infrastructure investment happens towards the end of the year. So we expect to see a ramp up of activities, especially those road construction. I think rain has finally gone because we haven't seen rain in 1 or 2 weeks, right? So those that have to asphalt, and of course, once you asphalt, that's where of course your progress of work, you generate your certificate, you get paid, right? So we want to see before 31st of December, we want to see an increased payments, right? Especially as their work is progressing. And my projection is that by end of the year, I don't think we should do anything. I don't think we will be doing anything less than 75%.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
So now I want to, in this era, let's take a kind of breather of our own budget now. Now, I know before now, when budget sizes are quoted in trillions, you look at the federal government budget. But we've seen, audacity on the part of subnationals. I think Lagos about 4 trillion and Abia 1 trillion. So I want to understand, Does this have anything to do with the sizes of the economy? Anambra is quoting 700 and something billion. So I wanted to take us through this whole budget size thing, so we understand where we actually are as a people.
Okay, thank you for this question because I've seen a whole lot of some of those kind of conversation. But I think rightly so, the economy has changed. The depreciation and the cost of living has
Inflation.
Inflation, the FX depreciation has really impacted the economy such that, of course, even the 1 trillion, how much is it in dollar terms, right? So it's trillion. We used to revert trillions before, but it just seems like it's up close in our faces now because of of course, the economic issues we've had in the past that had now made dollar is currently at 1,400 on the average. So if you use that to check, you ask just how many dollars and how many, I don't know, maybe a state it's one of the states in UK won't even be anything close to it. Close to it, right? So so while it seems big, it also kind of seems small when
so we're having like a money illusion.
It's a money illusion. Maybe when you compare to the level of development that is required. But that's just to put that out there. So we have a whole lot happening across states, but here we are just saying. But Anambra State, let me then come to responding to your question. Our budget we try to do it as realistically as we think it is. It's not a competition for us. Is a plan that we're looking to implement. I'll speak for Anambra State. Is a plan, and that is why consistently our budget performance have been over 70%. So people I see a lot of, I don't think most people understand it. Your budget performance, your budget is just an estimation. Someone who is unrealistic will estimate something that is unrealistic. Someone who understands what needs to be done, how feasible, because there is one particular cap everyone has, which is our revenue. If you have looked at your revenue realistically and said, okay, this is what we can achieve, even with all the maybe some bigger expectations, all the big hats and all that, and you just okay, let's put it at those, because that's what Anambra say has about 500 and something B. So we're saying, okay, with that, we can source about 200 from outside. But let's leave our budget at 700. That looks so realistic. And that's why we haven't in the past years we haven't done anything 70. We haven't done anything less than 70. So that is where we are, and I don't know, and it means so much to us. So we are not about, because of how we internalize budget in our Anambra State. So it's not something we just do randomly. The intentionality that goes in our budget is what, so nobody spends without the budget. We can't do any. In fact, if you need to make any request, you have to write the code. The code, the title, of course, the title that relates to what you're requesting for, the balance in the account, right? The balance on that code. That's how intentional we are. I don't know how many states are that intentional. So because of how much emphasis and how we revere our budget as a tool for development, we are quite careful about what we put out. So we are not, we don't even see or compare ourselves with other states, because we don't know whatever is driving their numbers. Yes, you can basically see, of course, it's revenue and debt. But in fact, if someone tells you, oh, he's ready to do 3-4 times their revenue size from the previous year, you really can't go to them to say it's not true. It's a budget, it's an estimate. Of course, they have their internal assumptions, so we would respect whatever everybody puts out. But what we put out in Anambra is our conviction of what we think is achievable, and also our plan to directionally drive the kind of development we seek in the state.
Okay. Speaking for Anambra State, how were the major capital projects in the 2026 budgets? How were they chosen? Like, what were the rationale behind choosing these projects?
In the 2026 budget. So,
Yeah.
like I said, what influences our planning is the two plans we have. In fact, three. The Vision 2070, we have a direction there. If you go read that, you see where Anambra State is headed. Our People's Manifesto is a short-term plan of what we think could happen of the Vision 2070. This is a short-term plan, and also our um, lastly our transition combined transition report, which was a very innovative and creative initiative this governor came up with at the beginning of the government, where he just asked brought critical industry experts just think through different segments of the state and provide advice. So that's also like an additional documentary reference if we need to plan. But what I would say is that what influences what comes up in the plan is the People's Manifesto, which is governor's promise. That's where we are today, and also engagement. If you understand, this is our people's governor. We have before the budget comes up, there's this engagement we have with communities. Community first of all, we write to communities, community charter of demand, where we reach out to communities to kind of let us know what their demands are. So it happens at the ministry level, and we have a whole lot of stakeholder engagement. This is just at the ministry level, but I know that the governor on a daily basis engages with communities. Every development, every decision is actually people driven. I know, in fact, I can imagine he has a very long list, because every time for the past election and campaign, any community he went to will have like their demands of what they want done. So those are things that influence what happens eventually. However, if we have a constraint, which is budget, so is then amongst all these things, there are then that's why the number trusts us to be here. They then trust the governor to be here, and then of course he does prioritization. What can we take in this year? What can we take in next year? So that's how we're going to prioritize until we achieve most of the things people have.
Okay. So
People have asked for.
we actually cannot let you go. My adroga withdraw.
Go ahead, John.
I adroga withdraw. And all we can say if we believe was sanya call we water.
Goes
Now
to
it's
John.
about then as well if you're small, medium scale enterprises. What are those specific things in the budget? Because an average Oyanambra believes in Ezwafia. Or can allow you one or two. So we want to know what are those specific plans for small and medium scale enterprises in the state.
Okay. Anambra State Ubodana Zwafia. Informal sector, what we mean is people are really, the entrepreneurship here is quite in fact it's something to study, because it seems like every single person just has something he or she is doing. Even those in corporate still has some sides of personal hustles, right? So what we have put in the budget this year, first is that for this micro, the very Ndafia table and all that, the governor has constantly said, please don't pay us anything. Let's see, survival is even what we are praying for, right? So you can keep everything you have. The second part is for those who are yet, let me go this way, those who are yet to find something to do. Want you to scale is in the budget for you, so you can even at least come join the Nazun. So that's them. So there are other two things that we have. So maybe before I get into that, the third is our ease of doing business. So we are intentional around improving email business in Anambra State. Currently, Anambra State is ranked number 1 in the whole southern and number 8 in Nigeria. So that is still a ranking as of today. So what I'm then asking for Ndi Nazwafia, we have 2 programs coming up. First is there's a new program currently up, but we are trying to see how to onboard it. It's called Nigeria for Women. It's a national program, right? Nigeria for Women. So this is a program that is currently being designed, but we haven't cascaded it, but we are going to be piloting with some local governments. So what it is how do we, it's something that is already working, but we are trying to institutionalize it.
Yeah.
If you understand it,
Yeah.
how to get a group of persons.
Thrift.
How to get a group of persons to come together and learn how to lend to themselves and continue to expand. There would be, is something that, when I saw it, I said, okay, let's call it what it is, or it's
Or
it's just a way to build that over time. So we start off with building it. First of all, building the affinity groups, women affinity groups, where they all come together and decide to support each other's business. So maybe they all contribute 1,000 every week. Then this person takes it. Next week, they all contribute one, another person takes it.
Yeah.
It continues to grow like that until it comes to a point where there's now a grant into that scheme, because we know that they are now a trusted ally, that they have formed a bond. That's where the funding now goes in. If they used to donate 1,000, or maybe with the scale of their business, they can then start doing 5,000. It's a consistent and well-tested system of economic empowerment. It's for sustainability. So this is a program that is starting. We are still trying to see how it works well in Anambra, but it will be rolled out very soon. So what we're also looking at, so that's for women, because it's a women program.
Yeah.
So it's going to be rolled out in some communities, in some local governments as pilot, and then with the learnings and everything, we can then scale out to other local governments.
Yeah.
And the second part is we have a cooperative micro medium enterprise support scheme. It's a cooperative. Well, this of course has everybody inside, right? It's not just men, female now. Maybe that with that we can then exclude the female. Women should go and focus on Nigeria for female. Why this one will focus on men?
Because when you said that female, I was beginning to imagine.
what happened? So what
Because
happened
you
to
know,
women in the
Mr.
micro?
Governor would say, and the data supports it, that in Anambra we don't have the girl child issue. All we have is boy child. So if any affirmation you want to do should be for the boy child. Because if you look at, for instance, our civil service, look at the ratio of men to women. Ibebakwa. You go to even the teaching services, secondary, primary school, ratio of men to women, you see the same thing too there. So, abekwane is wafaketa well pupu okay.
No, because this affinity group I talk about is a thing of trust.
Yeah.
And of course, not saying so much, but there are people that you can trust to continue to build,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
True.
Women are that patient, so they can continue to hold that. I collect him this week. Oh, bro, I collect. So they are patient to build or to last.
Yeah.
So I think that's why perhaps if we maybe learning from that, we can see how to do some affinity for men. But I don't know if it will work. But maybe there will be affinity. The affinity will be for something more interesting, maybe football or something. I don't know what's up. But what I'm saying is, in essence, is that yes, we have everything for everybody. There is a medium enterprise support scheme, which is a support for small scale businesses is a grant that will be coming up during the year. And then there is also for, like I said, the program that's running on the side. So these are the two areas. Of course, while students also not left out. In the budget, we have grants, bursary for students. We hope that I know it was in the budget last year, but the design and everything has is taking it over to 2026. So hopefully 2026 it will come to life.
Yeah.
So that means every part of the economy is being taken care of in the budget. We just hope that we'll work, speed up implementation so that the benefits can get to everyone in record time.
So to also congratulate you, because the year 2025 will be ending in a rather very high spirit for you and your ministry, given the fact that the 2024 is a fiscal performance stuff that was released by budget, that Anambra came tops, even ahead of Lagos and some other. So I think we need to. That was when we should have had her on Vona. But of course, I'm an again a budget manager, so we said, okay, let's just wrap it up in a very it's a feel good news. And you want to say anything about that?
Yeah. So we came first, but we have been coming. I think we have retained first to third position since we came into government.
Awesome.
Interesting.
So just that, we overtook we overtook Lagos this time and
You can
became
imagine.
number one. But what
That's
he
a good
says
one.
really, I know
Yeah.
that most people don't understand. So where there are two measures, right?
Yeah.
One is fiscal transparency, which is
Yeah.
like the baseline. How much of your information are available to the public? Anambra State, over the years, has consistently come first in fiscal transparency. That
Yeah.
means every information you need about the state is public. It's just you taking out your time to go find it. So that's one. Second is then asking, what are you spending your money on? Because you publish, that's why they can analyze and then they can come up with. So this is saying how are we investing? So that's the fiscal sustainability report. How sustainable is Anambra State? Sustainable in the terms of how are you utilizing the funds you're getting, and also how financial sufficient are you? So over time, I think they usually is every year report. So for 2020, I think last 2 years we came third or second. Last year third, I think we just have not left first third.
Yeah.
But last year, for 2024, of course, the audited financials came out in July. That's why it seems like it's coming up late in the year. So it's for 2024. We came first in Nigeria and was recognized. It just shows that the money is. I think the just simple term for it is value for money.
Awesome.
So what are you spending on, and how are you utilizing the resources, limited resources you have? That's what that report was. So it's just a reaffirming or confirmation that Anambra State is in good hands. That's just what this is about. Comfortably, without even so many English in it. That's just nationally being said. Anambra State is in good hands.
Absolutely.
So. Okay. There's also one last interesting question I'd like to ask. Because people have also been asking. So people are asking because during the campaign and the election season, we saw communities and individuals donating money to support Mr. Governor's re-election. And so the question now on the ground is those where people and where communities donating so that can project will take one of their community so that Mr. Governor would remember them and say, oh, because this community donated for us, you know what, we are going to do this for them. And then the communities that didn't donate, nothing for them. Was there any was this idea or this mindset behind some of those donations?
Maybe the communities, some of the meetings I wasn't even part of it. So maybe Fakaleda for her donate, because I don't have that data. But secondly, one important thing to mention is that I think all local governments donated. And that's like 21 that means, and I think interestingly, someone who donated, who is not in government, not around government, doing his business somewhere, just said, just for the records, just to let you know that we supported, myself and my friends just came together and donated money to support the governor. We don't need anything from him. But we see what he's doing. I want to support him so he can continue. My community has been a beneficiary of his good work. We want him to continue. He should not relent. That is also the voice of other people who have, without governor knowing them, had done something. So it's just their own voice of saying, we appreciate what you're doing. And we hope that this is just saying, we see you, we see what you're doing, we don't want you to relent. That's what he told me. He's someone that doesn't do government contract, he has no business in government, he just someone I know who just called to say, we just did this, of course, just for information, just to say, I like what your government is doing. He wants to just tell him that we are in support of him. So it could just, I know that it's just people putting up their voices, but unfortunately, I know that the development, as the governor said, continues to go around communities and community go around local governments, and communities are components of local government. Other batabuno, good and fine, but of course, I think we look at communities. But I think most importantly, we are looking for investments that give the most value to most in the Anambra, right? I don't have the list of people that donated. So that I go their communities to see how we can influence. No, that didn't come up. But I think well, and it's good to say that for the things that governor did in his first tenure so far, I think is what I understand when people have to come to say thank you.
Yeah.
Because it's not that, and it's not that, oh, but it's just to say that we have had
We've never had it this
cases
good
of
before.
people, we've had cases. The governor chooses to do whatever he can. The best you can do is just to wait out his stay and vote him out. But someone has decided to intentionally
Provide
develop
value.
Anambra
Yes.
State. So I think it's something worth identifying as a case study, as an appreciation, just so that next government or other people could also learn from. I think
True.
this is a case that really needs to be learned. 73% voter turning up, turn up is something that I think I guess I trust that maybe sometime there might just be some stories written about how to. I know governor says he's trying to say how does development translate to political capital.
Yeah.
So perhaps it could also be one of the things to educate people that it's not just about the who of the election. You can actually calm down and intentionally drive this political power you need in a different way, right?
Yeah.
I think it's something to learn from.
Yeah, awesome. It's been a very wonderful conversation with the Commissioner for Budget and Economic Planning. And I believe very important.
I missed out earlier.
Yeah, so I believe that there's been a lot of learning point and learning curve for all of us and the viewers at home. Basically, this is a government that is heavy on feedback and all. So, are there comments or questions that you'd like to know more about the budget, 2026 budget, and all that? Well, you can just drop them, in the comment section or visit our various social media handles. And I'm also aware that the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning also has some socials, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ministry of Budget and Planning.
Yeah.
On social, on Facebook, on Twitter, on
X.
Yeah, X.
Yeah.
And on
Instagram. Yeah. Okay.
And of course, we have this platform, Solution Lens.
Okay.
I don't know how many of you have interacted with it. Please go there and just send us message, and we would respond.
Awesome. Okay, Solution Lens, of course. So would have to drop that on our bio so people can, interact. So it's been a wonderful time with Madam Commissioner. We thank you for coming, and we hope that maybe upon the approval of the budget is currently in the House, so they're considering it. So upon the approval of it and when it's signed into law by Mr. Governor, we hope to also have you here to discuss on other specific deliverables and maybe you tell us how it's going in terms of implementation and all that.
Yes.
And wish you good luck. We hope that this year, that's this fiscal year, 2026, that you would score at least 80% performance.
We have to do that actually. In fact, 2026, we should be aiming that if ordinarily we can do 70, then we should be aiming for 80. So come
70%
No.
election year.
Of course. So you have all our best wishes. So thank you for joining us on this edition of Voices of India Anambra. We hope to see you next time with another interesting guest. Thank you and bye-bye.
And my name is Amaka Ezedebego. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. And don't also forget to subscribe and drop your comments down below.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Voices of the Anambra, our pride, our voice.